Hey everyone, today's a sad day, and I'm going to try to make this video as concise as possible. No matter how you felt about Charlie Kirk, whether you admired him for standing up for his Christian values or you wrestled with his politics, at the end of the day, he's gone. His assassination shocked America. I unfortunately saw the video of it happening, so it was pretty bad. But I was on my way, doing work, and then my wife said, Charlie Kirk got assassinated. I was like, oh my goodness, this is so unfortunate. And wherever you stand on politics, at the end of the day, death it's not the way to go. So today, I'm hoping to unpack and give you value in a way where it's addressing the Filipino journey and finding quote unquote home, especially for those of you Filipinos who are actually here in the Philippines, living in the Philippines full time. For me, it's how Christian faith and Filipino tradition has anchored me in this particular journey, and when facing trials and tribulations within this life of trying to find who I am, what is my identity, and things like that. Hopefully this video gives you value, and hopefully you stay till the very end of the video and give me the object that I'm going to ask of you at the end of the video. It forced me to ask in making this video, because I was gonna plan to make this video, but just creating ideas and things like that. But it forces me to ask, like, as a Filipino American, I've realized the same question cuts deep. What do we truly live for, and what values can outlive us even when we're gone? As a Filipino American, you're caught between two cultures, or it could be Filipino Belgium, it could be Filipino European. You're caught between two cultures most of the time, and but that's also as if like that's also if you love being a Filipino as well, and the other culture you're in. So, and you're always caught between these two cultures. For me, it's between like faith and modernity, and trying to, scale with life, and try to be as modern as possible at the same time keeping traditions. That's like the number one thing for me as well. At the end of the day, it's just not about fitting in. To be honest with you, I battled with my identity when I was a teenager, and I think that's probably the same for many as well. Growing up in New York and, just trying to, just trying to fit in and be me at the same time. So, I comment down below if you ever gone through that. For me, it's about holding tradition, holding my faith, and choosing respect even when the world pushes you away or doesn't see your worldview sometimes. Assassination is society's way of silencing someone, unfortunately. You know, but silence doesn't erase legacy. Look at, Abraham Lincoln, look at John F. Kennedy, look at so many people that have been unfortunately taken out of this world. But what Charlie Kirk's death shows us is the cost of standing firm in a divided world. So one study says that 74% of Americans say that violence in politics makes them lose faith in society itself. As Christians, that should remind us that you shouldn't put your faith in politics but in God. So for Phil Ams, identity itself feels like this battle. You're never fully accepted in America, and at the same time, you're never fully accepted in the Philippines. I had my own bouts of identity, as I said before earlier in the video, where, in school, a lot of the kids are making fun or poking fun at Asian people, white rice cookers, even Filipinos themselves. But then, you know, at the end of the day, when you're at home, you can't even say those things because, it's insulting to how Filipinos live. So, or even like, not being able to, even with my Bisaya or my local vernacular where people tell me all the time, you sound so weird when you speak Bisaya. So it's like a gentle jab or a soft jab, but I don't know. It's one of those identity things that, as a Filipino American growing up in America and now trying to fit back in into my home country, it's something that I struggle with from time to time. So I would have to say the first battleground is within yourself or within your soul, where There's a study out there that says that 1 out of 4 immigrants feel that they are culturally homeless. And I can attest to that as well. Sometimes like a tug of war of being pulled in one culture or the other. It's a pretty dynamic situation for me. I'll be honest with you. For Christians, it's not about just the culture, but it's also about your morality too. So as an American, many times you're pressured to compromise some of your values, some of the values that you were raised with. And in the Philippines, you're pressured to prove how Filipino you are sometimes. And just like Charlie Kirk, he walked between fierce love and fierce hate. And unfortunately, this was a very hateful moment. Me, I walk between faith and compromise of trying to find that sweet spot for myself in being traditional and being, modern at the same time. Also, being, taking the best of what America has given me and also taking the best of what the Philippines has given me or my parents, more my family. But it's always that battleground within. That's where it all starts. And I want to talk about this generational divide, which is it's very true for just not Filipinos, probably all immigrants, right? Parents carry the sacrifice and kids carry silence. And hopefully the faith that you have within the family is a bridge for both. Traditional Filipino parents are strict, faith-driven, and honor-guided. However, modern Filipino American kids, like myself, are raised in a culture of independence and self-expression. So, I can tell you the many times belts, pots and pans, Bibles, and mungo beans came out. So, if you're Filipino and you've experienced kneeling on mungo beans or rock salt with your hands out and holding the Bible or just books, comment up below. Meaning to say, like, this particular sense of self-expression and being a bit more westernized in that sense has caused a lot of clashes within, when growing up with my parents, especially that they're pretty conservative and traditional. So one survey says that 63% of Asian American youth say that parental expectations are the biggest stresses. To you dragon moms out there, that's a pretty alarming number as well. Growing up in a Christian household, that particular faith teaches you honor your mother and father. And I want you to understand, it's now that I understand it more, because I'm a parent now, it's not to erase yourself, but to anchor identity in respect. But back then, I didn't see it that way. Yeah, I didn't see it that way. Every lechon, dinuguan, shae, afritada, beef steak, fruit salad, on the table, it is a reminder that God provides. He really does. And food is just not cultural in the Filipino setting. But I have a lot of Italian friends, a lot of, immigrant friends. Food is like a staple within that culture, right? And Americans as well. Americans have their own foods, but for me, Americans are a conglomerate or a smorgasbord, if I would like to say, of cultures. But food is definitely a staple within that. Food is like spiritual memory. It hits us emotionally. For us, it's like the family prayers. The saying grace before meals. And it ties me into spiritual memory as well as other Filipino families as well. Now, for you expats living in the Philippines, Filipinos love family gatherings, right? Because they love the joy, the gossip, and the faith woven conversations from time to time. Comment down below if you've ever been to a Filipino fiesta where all the houses are close to each other. You're being very well fed, probably overfed. It's rooted in Catholic tradition, but like Santo Niño festivals, by us in Negros, in Bacong, it's like St. Augustine, Simbang Gabi, Sinulog. It's just not about parades. It's like spiritual heritage here. So the past census in 2022 put Filipinos as the second largest Asian group in America, and it's still growing. So that is huge. So I think that's why I see so many Filipino stores popping up now, even in the most obscure places. As long as Filipinos are there, a local Filipino store pops up. But it's cool though, because when I'm in America, I can get kind of like the taste from home when I go to these Filipino stores. Shout out to Tita Emma in Westbury, New York. That's where we literally grew up eating. Home isn't just culture. Home is where faith and traditions give you those roots, or at least it gave me those roots that I am probably, I'm not going to say erase that. I am standing and growing on those roots today. Unfortunately, Charlie Kirk's assassination reminds me that life is fragile, but faith and tradition will always remain. Being Filipino American to me isn't about geography. You know, Fortunately, I am blessed to have been born in the Philippines, Dumaguete City, Negros Oriental, raised in, Long Island, New York, Hempstead to be specific, but I went to Uniondale. Shout out to Black and Gold all the way, class of 2000. But I've come to realize that, you know, through is the only way, and I embrace the fact that I am Filipino American. I grew up in America and got those values. I went home every day and got those Filipino values. And I, obviously, the best position you can be in is to take all the good and get rid of the bad. And even me, I am still battling, things that I have to adjust while I've been here in the Philippines for 3 years now, but I came here through college and I've done business here. But even then, I am still understanding how it is to be a, local homegrown Filipino, how the mannerisms, the approach of certain things. I'm still trying to I'm still trying to grasp all of that at the end of the day. My faith has really humbled me. My faith has really put me in a position to accept, to be open, to just look at my perspective or my worldview as not the worldview, it's just a worldview, and look and be empathetic and looking at how people live, how people interact, and putting that into my toolbox of just trying my best to be a well-rounded Filipino American Christian, if I like to say that. So as a Filipino American, to all my Filipino Americans out there watching these videos, balikbayans, kababayans, you are not lost between two cultures. You're strengthened by both. And I think looking at it that way will definitely elevate you to where you need to be. It has definitely with me. And for me, because tradition and faith are a really big thing with me, when cultures clash and when society gets divided a lot lately, especially here in the Philippines right now, it's those internal values and those traditions that make me unshakable with many things and my point of view. But although unshakable, that doesn't leave me hardened to the point where I'm not open-minded, right? And not willing to hear someone out at the end of the day. And that's one thing that I did learn from Charlie Kirk, and just being, and he's been quoted, saying this like, when conversation and communication ends, that's when bad things happen. And he was always down for a convo, which to a great degree, that's kind of like my biggest thing now. Just communicate, just talk it out as much as you can before it gets worse. So if you are a Phil-Am navigating through life, I'm not going to say I'm going to be the number one person to help you, but if you need someone to talk to, chill with, and whatever, I'm down. Maybe you're wrestling with that tug of war battle of faith, tradition, modernity, and all those things, stepping up, being a man, leadership skills. I'm down for a talk anytime. At the end of the day, I want to hear your story. So hit this QR code or scan this QR code or hit the calendar link and we can do a quick podcast together. I'm not selling any courses. I'm not a guru or anything. I'm just a regular guy trying to make it happen and help as many people as I can. I believe that's in my age and in my time of my life right now. I believe that is a purpose that God has put in front of me. And Uh, I'm just gonna do that for now until, until I find something else, some other purpose. But I believe my purpose is to help people as much as I can and bring value in people's lives as much as I can. This video might get 1 view, it might get 1,000,000 views. I don't know. But at the end of the day, the message is the same. I'm here to bring value to as many people as I can until I'm no longer here, right? So scan the QR code. I really appreciate it. And or hit the link down below. If you want me to blur out your face on the podcast or whatever, or even if you're not down to be on video, perfectly fine. If you're locally in Davao, I would love to just hang out and get some coffee or whatever. Let's talk business, let's talk values, let's talk life, let's talk about struggles of being a Christian, and how we're both navigating through this world at the end of the day. And if you got to this point in the video, I greatly appreciate it. If this video resonates with you, like, share, subscribe to the channel, and more importantly, comment on below and drop that fist emoji down there so I know that we're standing together in this journey at the end of the day. Take care, God bless, I'll talk to you soon, and hopefully this video helps you get more clarity in what you're trying to do in life. Take care, God bless, bye.